Daimler Chrysler takes you to Europe's most beautiful places with one of the best orchestras of our time. We're proud to support the European concerts of the Berlin Philharmonic. Daimler Chrysler.
By the Anna Maria and Stephen Kellen Foundation, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you, thank you.
This is PBS.
Technology in and of itself is not negative. It's what we do with it. We could be using all our wonderful technology. As I think, for example, what people do with something wonderful on the internet like eBay, how people barter and exchange and go back to older forms of connection and community that can be really exciting for our lives. I think of the people who are meeting partners on the internet as a positive use of technology, not to move away from human connection, but to move closer.
I'm Sarah Lee Kessler. Thyroid problems are masters of disguise. Patients, most of whom are women, can go years before getting a proper diagnosis.
It was a relief because I was always tired. I was gaining weight.
Other common symptoms? Dry skin and constipation. Ask your doctor whether you should be tested.
To Your Health, made possible by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey.
Coping with a child's medical treatment can be devastating for parents. So can the bills. Every New Jersey family, regardless of their income, has a resource to turn to when those mounting bills are catastrophic.
Next time on Mystery, a corpse is uncovered.
Nothing about these pitiful remains to show me who or how or why.
And a holy brother accused.
This is Daenerys,
wife of Ruwald, who is now a monk.
That doesn't mean to say he killed her. Though she died in her Milan, Cadfael, that does not make her death beyond the law.
Derek Jacobi stars as Cadfael.
Did you murder your wife?
Friday at midnight on NJN.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Christopherson. This month, NJN celebrates New Jersey history in partnership with the New Jersey Historical Society and the Star Ledger. Did you know that New Jersey had its own version of the Boston Tea Party in the town of Greenwich in Cumberland County? Did you know that some historians say that Morristown was known as the military capital of the American Revolution? Tune in to NJN for 1 Minute New Jersey and the American Revolution, which tell about state sites that shaped American history.
Hi, I'm Hella Young, and here are tonight's winning New Jersey lottery numbers.
New Jersey Lottery, it pays to dream.
Down Jersey means the bay side of the lower part of the Jersey.
Down Jersey, why, you either a fisherman or a farmer.
Down Jersey is the people who still live here, who still do the same things that their grandfathers did and the whole family's done.
They're a very natural people who are really connected to the land and the sea.
You won't want to miss it. Saturday at 5 on NJN.
WNJS, Camden.
Bill is the best candidate.
Even now in the campaign, I tried to have quiet time. I always found academics as a great refuge. I was always interested in seeing how an author reflected the social values of his times. When you read literature, it's almost like holding a mirror up to yourselves. Who are you? Who are you as a person?
And it came from an estate.
Yeah.
And he said it was jammed into a bookcase. He actually had trouble getting it out.
Really?
And it obviously hadn't been anywhere for years and years and years.
Right.
And so I thought it was a worthwhile investment.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece, and what it appears to be is an incense burner from Egypt or thereabouts, and it seems to be something somebody might have found in a bookcase maybe, and something that you might have found from a dealer who deals in this kind of thing. Now, the range of the price of what did you pay for this today?
$250.
He paid $250. Now, this could be worth anything from $18 to maybe $45,000. And I think the way to assess the value of this would be probably, I would suggest that you take it to someone who's qualified to appraise this type of item and ask them how much it's worth, because I don't have any idea. But thanks for bringing it.
Okay.
And, Hello and welcome to Shortcuts. My name is Louis C.K. and I am the host of the show. And tonight we're only going to watch one short film. It's called Some Folks Call It a Sling Blade. That's the title. And the director is George Hickenlooper. George Hickenlooper also made a wonderful documentary entitled Hearts of Darkness, which is the making of Apocalypse Now. It's something that you should also see. Another thing about Some Folks Call It a Sling Blade is that the original running time is 29 minutes, but the version we're showing tonight is 20. So this is the only short that we've ever cut down because it was too long. The part we cut out was basically all the parts that were good, because we felt those were the parts that were taking too long. So what you're going to see is the remainder, the bad part of Some Folks Call It a Sling Blade by George Hickenlooper, wonderful filmmaker. So here now is a truncated version by only 9 minutes of Some Folks Call It a Sling Blade. Please enjoy it.
Well, it's nothing new for the Giants, as they once again will be asked to do what they've had to do much of this season, and that is play catch-up.
Well, they went through this on Friday night, down 4-0. But when you get to this point, you certainly don't want to dig too big a hole for yourself.
Dusty Baker will come to the mound.
Scott Sanderson is throwing in the Giants bullpen, and that had been all pre-planned that if they had to go to their bullpen early, this would be they would do it.
No one can believe it. I mean, it's fun. It's like the best friend that I've always wanted. We had a great relationship our first 6 months. There was a reason I had to pursue there on this. And it started a snowball effect that you can't stop.
Okay.
I knew. No, but what about your children? Do you love your children? How could you neglect your children? No. You know,
You ain't all about that. You get killed like you heard today, you're gone. They would never see you again on the street. What? You abuse her mentally, man. She's strung out when you come advantage of her.
At a lot of stations, you have to park your car because you're on the standard line. You can, but at a participating Chevron station, you can pay a credit card.
Mercury. Mercury's a good car. I've had a lot of cars. Different kinds, a lot of different kinds of cars. And that was the kind of car I was driving that day. The girl, she was standing on the side of the street where there was this chicken stand. It wasn't a Colonel, but it was, nevertheless, it was a chicken stand. And I pulled the Mercury right up there, and I rolled down the window by electric power. She had this leather skirt on, and she had a lot of hair on her arms. I like that a lot. I mean, she has a big bush. I like a big bush. She says, "Are you dating?" I said, "Yeah." She gets in the car. We drive off to this remote location that was comfortable for both she and I. She says, "How much do you want to spend?" I said, "Whatever it takes to see your bush, because I know you've got a big one." $25, she says. That's not chicken feed to a man like me. So I produce the $25. She puts it in her shoe. She lifts up her dress. And there, before me, lay this thin, crooked, uncircumcised penis. You can imagine how badly I wanted my $25 back.
Most of the people in these places end up on the street begging for change and kicking fleas off each other.
Would you please shut up?
Mr. Woolridge? These are the people from that newspaper.
Hi,
Hi,
Jerry Woolridge.
I'm Teresa Tatum, and this is Frances Moorman, and she'll be taking the photographs today.
Have a seat.
is this all of you?
Well, yes.
You're not a man.
No, I'm not. Why did you say that?
Well, to tell the God's honest truth, I sense a miscommunication here or something. I told your editor... Oh, geez, I can't remember his name.
Al Freeman.
Yeah, I told Al that there simply couldn't be any pictures. You see, Carl just won't have his picture taken at all. And anyway, we were under the impression that this was supposed to be just a little story or article or something. Isn't that right, Martin?
Well, I don't know. I
A
guess...
little article? I mean, I guess so. I mean, it's a story for a very big... Well, it's a newspaper, but it's a very big newspaper.
I mean, Carl's very sensitive about the way he looks. He doesn't like to be stared at. He told me one time that if a picture was made of him, it would be permanent proof that he was ugly. He told me that one time.
There was a man named John Liggett Hunter who was in the filling station business, and it was a good filling station business. But he was one of these young men we run across in life. I'm sure you run across him, who did not deserve what he had. Like his wife, Sarah. Beautiful. She was a Georgia peach. In fact, she was more like the picture I had in my mind of a woman than anyone I had ever met. So I took it upon myself to take her away from John Liggett Hunter, who did not deserve her. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it, but he was a Frenchman who claimed to be an Englishman. Took a lot of strong nylon cord to get her away from him, because she was a fighter as well as being a Georgia peach.
Anyway, I told your boss to send a man, and he won't talk to a woman.
I'm pretty goddamn insulted. Look, I'm a very good interviewer. So why don't you just put me in a room with Carl, and we'll see how many questions he answers or doesn't answer.
Shovel just makes too goddamn much racket.
He hasn't talked to a woman in 25 years. Yeah, you'll be the first woman he's talked to in 25 years?
I thought that you said he wouldn't talk to me.
Well, I don't think he will, but I'll ask him. Anyway, I guess you'll be the first woman he's had the opportunity to refuse to talk to in 25 years.
You spend your whole death trying to get out of the womb, and then you spend your whole goddamn life trying to get back in it. But then when you look at it again, face to face, it's just glorious, you know. When you get that little hole, that little eye, it's everything.
You see, Carl, growing up, only knew that sex was bad and that people who did it should be killed for it. You know he slept in a hole in the ground under a woodshed, right?
Well, I knew that he slept in a woodshed of sorts.
Yeah, well, his mother told him that was their punishment, hers and his father's from God, for having sexual intercourse.
Before they were married?
I don't think so, just period, I think. And his mother told him that God gave him the ugliest creation he could think of. And Carl had this book, this notebook, and on each page of the book he'd written Franklin, chapter 4, verse number 1. He wrote that a couple of years ago after he learned how to write, and Franklin is his father's name.
It's really odd.
Ah, they're bringing him down now. I'll go prepare him for you. He's getting out today, and I told him he's going to be seeing a lot of women all the time out there.
You have to make something explode to truly understand it. You have to examine the tiny particles while they're still on fire.
Carl, I got to take you down to the old classroom. Mr. Woolridge wants to see you. Come on, let's go.
Well, I guess miracles do happen. He'll talk to you. I told him it might help him to see you, for when he's out, I mean.
Did he seem upset?
No. Now, Carl will only talk to you. In other words, he doesn't want you asking him anything. No pictures, and please don't stare at him.
Wait a minute. How am I going to conduct an interview if I can't ask him any questions?
I'm sorry, but that's the best we're going to do.
Well, let me ask you something. Why are you letting him out? I mean, what if he does it again? It happens every day, you know.
You talk to the state and the doctors about that. Besides, Carl's been institutionalized since he was 13. He's never shown any signs.
Signs?
Homicidal signs.
Jesus Christ.
Now, will you step outside? Please? Carl doesn't like the light. Fluorescent light.
Well, I reckon what you're wanting to know is what I'm doing in here. I reckon the reason I'm in here is because I killed somebody. But I reckon what you're wanting to know is how come me to kill somebody, so I reckon I'll start at the front and tell you. I lived out back of my mother and father's house most of my life in a little old shed that my daddy'd built for me. They didn't too much want me up there in the house with the rest of them. So I mostly just sat out there in the shed or looking at the ground. I didn't have no floor, but I had me a little old hole dug out to lay down in. They had me a quilt or two to put down there. My father was a hard-working man most of his life. Not that I can say the same for myself. I mostly just sat out there in the shed, tinkered around with a lawnmower or two. Went to school off and on from time to time. But the children down there, they made quite a bit of sport of me and made fun of me quite a bit. And some of them roughed me up sometimes. So mostly I just sat out there in the shed. My daddy worked down there at the sawmill, down at the planer mill for an old man named Dixon. Old man Dixon was a very cruel feller. Didn't treat his employees very well. Didn't pay them too much of a wage. Didn't pay my daddy much of a wage. Just barely enough to get by on, I reckon. But I reckon he got by all right. They used to come out, one or the other of them, usually my mother, and feeding me pretty regular. So I know he at least got by well enough to where I could have mustard and biscuits 3 or 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. Well, old man Dixon, he had a boy named Jesse Dixon. Jesse was really more cruel than his daddy was. He made quite a bit of sport of me, taking advantage of the young girls in the neighborhood quite a bit. They used to say that my mother was a very pretty woman. They used to say that quite a bit from time to time when I was down there at the schoolhouse. And anyway, I reckon you want me to go and tell you what happened, so I reckon I'll tell you. I was sitting out there in the shed one evening, not doing too much of nothing, just kind of staring at the wall, waiting on my mother to come out and give me my Bible lesson. And I heard a commotion up there in the house. So I run up on the screened-in porch there, looked in the kitchen window, and I seen my mother laying there on the floor. That ain't clothes on him. And Jesse Dixon was laying on top of her, having his way with her. Yeah. Well, I just seen red. I picked up a Kaiser blade that was sitting there on the porch. Some folks called it a sling blade. I call it a Kaiser blade. It's just a long wood handle, kind of like an axe handle. Long blade on it, shaped kind of like a banana. Sharp on one edge and dull on the other. It's what the highway boys used to cut down the weeds and whatnot. Well, I went in the kitchen there and I hit Jesse Dixon upside the head with it and knocked him off my mother. Well, I don't reckon that quite satisfied me. So I hit him again with it in the neck with a sharp edge and just plumb near cut his head off. Killed him. My mother, she jumped up in there and she started hollering, "What'd you kill Jesse for? What'd you kill Jesse for?" Well, come to find out, I don't reckon my mother minded what Jesse was doing to her. I reckon that made me madder than what Jesse had made me. I'd taken this Kaiser blade. Some folks called it a sling blade. I call it a Kaiser blade. Now, I hit my mother upside the head with it. Killed her. Some folks has asked me if I had it to do over again, would I do it the same way? I reckon I would. Anyhow, they seen fit to put me in here, and here I've been for a great long while. I've learned to read some. Took me 4 years to read the Bible. I reckon I understood a great deal of it. Wasn't what I expected in some places. I slept in a good bed for a great long while. Now they've seen fit to put me out of here. They tell me they're setting me free today. Anyhow, I reckon that's all you need to know. If you need to hear some more details, I reckon I can tell them to you. I don't know if that's enough for your newspaper or not. Anyhow, I reckon that's what you'd want to know.
Will you kill again, Carl?
I don't reckon I got no reason to kill nobody.
Where will he go?
Oh, wherever he wants to. I really don't know.
So he's leaving right now? Right this minute?
Well, we have some paperwork to do, but pretty soon. I mean, don't worry, you'll be gone. You won't see him in the parking lot.
No, that's not what I'm... Will he at least be supervised?
Well, as much as anybody else is.
All patients Ward B, please report to your rooms for medication. All patients in Ward B, please report to your rooms for medication.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I reckon I'm gonna have to get used to looking at pretty people.
Yes, I guess you are.
I reckon I'm gonna have to get used to them looking at me, too.
You better go get your things.
I ain't got nothing but them books.
You better go get them.
All right, then.
Jerry Woolridge, please call extension 475. Extension 475. Jerry Woolridge. Please call
in front of the tarp, and better yet, in front of the third baseman Hansen and the left fielder Rodriguez, neither of whom could get to it. So Clark stays alive. So Barry Bonds steps in. Gross did a nice job on Bonds his first time.
Here we are shooting a short, and it's wonderful because I think, you know, the cinema as an art form started off with one-reelers, and I think short films, it's too bad it is kind of a dying art form, but it'd be nice to see it come back. I'm certainly glad the Academy didn't eliminate the category of short film.
Short films are great. I've seen a lot of great short films, and there's one that I think ran as an episode of, somebody told me this, I don't know it to be true, that it ran as an episode of The Twilight Zone after it had already, I think, won an Academy Award or something, but it was a movie called An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. Ambrose Bierce, or whatever, the guy, you know, the Civil War guy. And it's, you know, it's like a half-hour film or 25-minute film or something like that. And it was one of the major influences on me. You know? I mean, it's a haunting movie. I think about it almost every day. It's weird. I saw it like, 15 years ago or something. I'm always thinking about it.
Sometimes short films are actually more complete and more concise than a lot of regular films. In Europe, they're much more common, and people are always doing short films, and it's really much more of a respected medium. And here, short films, I mean, the agents are like, what are short films? What are they? What do you want to do one of those for? But I think that they're really, really interesting. I mean, it's like short stories and novels, just because you have novels doesn't mean you shouldn't have short stories.
Right. Oh, just the character, I mean, it's, actors love to play weirdos. And it's not that weird. I mean, philosophically, probably, no.